At 6:47 in the morning on June 6, 1944, Commander Samuel "Sam" Day stood in the cramped conning tower of the submarine USS Harder, staring through the periscope into moonlit water off Tawi-Tawi. The Pacific looked calm, almost gentle, but he knew better. 3 Japanese destroyers were slicing across the surface in wide arcs, their wakes glowing faintly in the dark. They were not searching randomly. They were hunting him. Day was 37 years old, already a veteran of 5 war patrols. 18 enemy ships had gone down because of him. For 3 weeks his submarine had terrorized Japanese supply lines in these waters, and now the Imperial Navy had finally decided to end it. Minazuki, Hyanami, and Tanakes had been sent with a single order: find the American submarine and destroy it. Until only weeks before, this situation would have meant certain death. Destroyers were built to kill submarines. They were fast, heavily armed, and designed to hunt. A submerged submarine could barely make 9 knots. A destroyer could make 35. Between the opening of the war and the spring of 1944, Japanese destroyers had sunk 14 American submarines. No American submarine had ever sunk a Japanese destroyer in a direct fight. Then Sam Day broke the rules. Back in April, when the destroyer Ikazuchi had charged straight at Harder at flank speed, every officer on board had expected the same old routine: dive, run, hide, pray. Instead, Day had ordered flank speed ahead and turned directly toward the attacker. At 900 yards, he fired a spread of torpedoes straight into the destroyer's path. 2 hit. The ship blew apart and sank in 5 minutes. His radio message became legend across the Pacific submarine force. Expended 4 torpedoes and 1 destroyer. The Japanese did not find it amusing. By late May, Admiral Somu Toyota had gathered nearly the entire mobile fleet at Tawi-Tawi: battleships, carriers, cruisers, and destroyers packed into a narrow anchorage, preparing for the coming battle in the Philippines. American codebreakers knew they were there, and Admiral Charles Lockwood sent Harder straight into the middle of the nest. For 9 days, Day slipped through the patrol lines unseen. Then, in the early hours of June 6, a patrol plane spotted his periscope wake. Now the hunt was on. Through the periscope, Day watched the lead destroyer zigzag toward him, closing fast. Minazuki, 1,200 tons, 4 5-inch guns, moving with practiced confidence. 2 more destroyers spread out behind her, boxing the submarine into a shrinking kill zone. Day did something no destroyer captain expected. He turned straight toward them. At 1,100 yards, the range closed so fast the seconds felt loud. 96 seconds until collision. Every man in the conning tower understood what he was doing. This was the down-the-throat attack. Fire torpedoes directly at the bow of an oncoming destroyer, then dive under her keel before she could ram you. Miss, and she drops depth charges right on your head. Dive too late, and she cuts you in half. At 900 yards, Day fired 3 torpedoes. Take her down. 300 feet. The bow plunged. 40 seconds later, the submarine was slammed by 2 violent explosions. A third lifted the stern clean off the deck before smashing it back down. When Day raised the periscope again, Minazuki was gone. In her place floated wreckage, oil, and smoke. The other destroyers scattered, dropping depth charges blindly as they ran. 1 destroyer in the dark. Admiral Toyota ordered 6 more ships to the hunt. But Day wasn't finished. The next night, surfacing to recharge batteries in pitch-black seas, Harder picked up radar contact. A single ship closing fast. A destroyer. Hyanami. Her captain, exhausted after hours of patrol, thought the radar contact was another friendly ship. By the time he realized it was an American submarine charging him on the surface, it was too late. At 2,300 yards, Day fired 4 torpedoes. 2 hit near the aft magazine. The stern vanished in a single flash. The ship rolled over, propellers still spinning, and slid under backward. 147 men went with her. 2 destroyers in 24 hours. Now the Japanese were furious. Hunter-killer groups flooded the area. Patrol planes combed the sky. Every destroyer captain had the same order. Find that submarine. Kill it. On June 8, near Cebutu Passage, Day found 2 more destroyers searching in formation. He studied their zigzag pattern patiently for 90 minutes, timing their turns, waiting for a single mistake. When Tanakays turned into his path, Day let her come. At 1,200 yards, he fired. The second torpedo hit near the bridge. The third struck the forward magazine. The explosion tore the bow clean off. Both halves vanished within minutes. 3 destroyers in 3 days. The escort charged, dropped depth charges, but missed. Harder slipped away again. The next morning, Day rose to periscope depth and saw something that made every man freeze. 4 destroyers, line abreast, sonar pinging so loudly it echoed through the hull. Day had 8 torpedoes left. He picked the second ship in line and waited as she turned toward him. At 1,800 yards, he fired 3. All 3 struck within seconds. The destroyer exploded so violently debris flew 300 feet into the air. The remaining ships swarmed. Depth charges rained down. 23 in 10 minutes. Lights went out. Pipes burst. Hull plates groaned under the pressure. For 2 hours the crew worked silently, sealing leaks, holding the boat together. Then the noise faded. 4 destroyers in 4 days. And with those 4 ships, something much larger began to unravel. Fuel was running low. Day turned south, thinking only of getting home. But the damage had already been done. Reports of the attacks reached Admiral Ozawa, commander of the Japanese mobile fleet. If a single submarine could rip through his destroyer screen like this, the anchorage was no longer safe. He ordered the entire fleet to leave Tawi-Tawi immediately. 6 days early. That single decision changed the course of the war. The early departure scattered the fleet, burned fuel, disrupted reconnaissance, and left carrier defenses thin. When American carriers met them in the Philippine Sea 9 days later, the Japanese were unprepared. What followed became known as the Great Marianas Turkey Shoot. Hundreds of Japanese aircraft fell from the sky. 3 carriers sank. Japan's naval air power never recovered. Sam Day never knew he had shaped that victory. He went back to sea. In August, hunting with 2 other submarines off Luzon, Japanese intelligence finally found him. Just before dawn on August 24th, 2 escort ships closed in fast while Harder was still on the surface. Day crash-dived, but left a massive bubble trail behind him. The sonar operator had a perfect contact. The first depth charge pattern bracketed the submarine. 3 exploded close enough to crack the pressure hull. The stern flooded in seconds. Day ordered ballast blown, emergency surface. Too late. The second pattern hit even closer. At 600 feet, the hull imploded. 79 men vanished in less than 3 minutes. No survivors. When news reached Admiral Lockwood, he called Harder's final patrol the most strategically important submarine operation of the entire Pacific War. Because 4 destroyers sunk in 4 days had forced a fleet to move early. And that early movement had helped destroy Japan's last chance to win the war at sea. Sam Day's tactics lived on. Other submarines charged destroyers instead of running. By war's end, American submarines had sunk dozens of Japanese warships using the method he invented. But the man himself never saw the victory. In 1946, President Truman placed the Medal of Honor in the hands of his widow. "Destroyer Killer," the citation called him. Today, the wreck of Harder rests 3,700 feet below the South China Sea, upright, silent, a war grave. 79 men from 38 states lie there still. Farm boys, factory workers, college students. They knew the odds. 22% of American submariners never came home. They went anyway. And because they did, history changed. If this story moved you, remember these men. They didn't just fight battles. They changed the war. And thanks to them, freedom came a little closer to the surface.